Okay, Kim, it's been a minute since we've recorded a review. And actually, I haven't posted a video on my channel in like a month. Like I've just been so busy with
You do have like
stuff.
6 jobs, so.
Yeah. But now that some of my classes are ending that I'm
Oh,
teaching
yes.
at one place. And so but everything's good. But yeah, so like we're kind of getting into the Halloween season. In fact, my neighbors just put up some of their Halloween decorations already. So
We
we're
bought some yesterday.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's good.
I
So
won't put them
what
up
kind of
yet, though.
decorations?
October 1st is like
So is that your cutoff? You have to wait until it's actually October to
you
put
can
things
hang
up.
up autumnal decorations. I have put up, like, pumpkin-themed
You said
things.
autumnal, right?
Yes.
I thought you said autonomal. I was like, is that like a transformer, like a
Yes,
robot?
make sure the decorations have strong autonomy.
I love it. That's perfect. Anyway, so Pumpkinhead. This is
Yeah.
great. So when was the last time you watched Pumpkinhead? Have you watched it recently or
Yeah, I watched it the other day
you did
because
watch it? Okay. So
yeah,
I
the
watched
day
it.
that I think I text you, this would be a great day to watch
You watched it
Pumpkinhead.
that same day.
I was
Okay.
watching it as I texted you
And
that.
Tim said I shouldn't advertise this, but I did buy the Blu-ray. So I have the Blu-ray and I watched it. And, so it came out in 1988. And I did not know that it's directed
I
by
did not
Stan
know it came
Winston.
out the year I was born. Now I
Oh, that's
feel
the year you were born. Okay. Yeah.
very akin.
So there's a 6-year difference. I was 82. You're 88. So the movie that I always think of with my birthday year is E.T. That's what came out that year, which
Oh,
is kind of a big movie, right? But
yeah, good to know.
so, yeah, like, going into this, I didn't really know much about it other than I kind of figured I would enjoy the special effects because Stan Winston, and I had seen like, just glimpses of the creature before, even though I had never seen the movie. But yeah, so I
Yeah,
didn't know this was directed by Stan Winston, and I kind of looked to see what other movies he's directed. And it's a very limited
yes.
directorial filmography because he's
Yeah,
known for
because
things
right
like,
after you mentioned him, I did the same thing. I was like,
yeah,
"Well, I don't know much about him. I just know he directed this." And then I was like, "Oh, it says like special effects, things like that." And I'm like, "Where's his director list?"
right. There's no. I had to like Google it because it wasn't on IMDb that I could find
Yeah,
anywhere. But I know him from like everything else, like Terminator, Aliens, all that kind of stuff that he's
I
known
didn't
for.
even know.
Oh, you didn't know that he was like the special effects guy?
Nope. Now I
Yeah,
do now. And once I saw like all these, I was like, "Oh." But yeah, I didn't know that.
he's like a god in that industry. I mean, I think he passed away in like
Yes.
'08, something like that. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so going into this, I had no idea what the plot was. I just knew it was about a monster. The plot is kind of insane, having watched it, which like maybe not any more insane than any other horror
Well,
movie,
that's why
really.
comparatively, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. So, um, and overall, I would say I enjoyed it. That you just from the start, like there were things about it that I didn't love as much. Like the thing that I'll say up front is I didn't think that it was as bloody. I expected it to be more bloody. Like it wasn't very bloody or gory for the most part.
Yeah, they definitely had creative and interesting deaths, but there was almost like a lack of blood. There definitely wasn't as much blood as like a person getting because like one girl gets pushed through a window. If a person got pushed through like a window these days, it'd be a geyser of blood everywhere, and it's like,
Right.
oh, a little trickle.
One guy gets impaled with a rifle, I think, at some point, or
Yeah,
something
but
like
even
that.
that was kind of tame.
That was kind of tame. So I
Yeah,
guess let's start at the beginning. And this movie has Lance Henriksen, who's actually one of my favorite actors. You don't see him in a ton of stuff these days, but he's known
yeah.
as playing Bishop in Aliens, and he was actually in Terminator, so he's got kind of that James Cameron connection in a
Oh
few things.
yeah.
He was
Okay.
with the like lieutenant or whatever, one of the police
Mhm.
officers in that. But so his name, I think, in this is Ed Harley. Is that it?
Yes,
Is that right?
yes. Ed Harley. Yes.
I've got the IMDb pulled up. Let's see. So there's Ed Harley. And so he's got a young son who you don't get a lot of backstory, but I guess, you learn later that his wife had passed away. But it's just
Yeah.
him living in kind of a, I don't know, deserty, rural area.
Very remote.
Yeah. And it's got kind of shades of like, not Wrong Turn, maybe, but kind of that same sort of like, really kind of backwoodsy type of
The hills have
culture and
eyes
people.
something. There's maybe
Yeah.
some cousin love going on in these mountains.
Very deliverance-ish kind of stuff happening potentially in the wilderness
Yeah.
here. But basically he owns a little country store on the side of the road. And there are these people coming from out of town, these city dwellers. I think he calls them city folk in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, you city folk.
And there's one actually relatively well-known actor in that group, and I can't remember his name. It's the guy that actually kills the kid on the
Oh,
motorcycle.
okay.
He's been in a few things. Like I know him from
Huh.
Seinfeld. Like he was on at least one episode of Seinfeld, but not like a
Okay.
huge role. But he was there, and I think he's been in some movies here and there. But basically, they show up and they've got some motorcycles, like dirt bikes, kind of in tow on this trailer. And for whatever reason, they decide to get them off and start doing like tricks and stunts at the country store, like
Yeah.
beside it in sort of the hilly area. Really
Yeah.
random decisions by the characters there, but they write them in kind of this over the top way where the main guy is just really kind of this jerkish entitled
Yes.
dude who apparently is on probation, if I'm remembering
Oh, yeah,
kind of
you
the
find
whole
out later,
thing.
yes, he's had some
You find that
issues with
out
that.
later. But Ed, who is played by Lance Anderson, has to go and deliver something to a customer. And while he's gone, his kid, who he leaves by himself at the store, which is kind of a weird decision given that there are these like late teens, early 20s people sort of out and about there just
Yes.
hanging out.
Now that you mentioned that, I did have the thought of like, oh, I'm sure he leaves him at the store all the time, so it's not that weird. But then when you add into the mix like 6 total strangers with their dirt, like, no, you should have brought him
Would you
with
leave
you.
Owen at the store, Kim, if you were in this
Not if there
situation?
were a bunch of strangers there. If he was by himself, I'd be like, yes, please stay there all
Yeah, and
day.
there's Michael Myers. I mean, Lucy coming in here to join the conversation. So anyway, he leaves them, and I guess they have a dog who seems to. I guess the dog
Gypsy.
gets out, right? What was the dog's name?
Gypsy.
Gypsy. That's right. Gypsy gets out. Cool looking dog gets out, goes running away, and of course the kid goes after the dog and gets right in the line of one of these dirt bikes as it's coming over a hill, gets hit by it, and then dies. But it's a weird kind of sequence of events in the way that it plays out. But
It's
I don't
well,
know.
and I guess like well, because as I was watching it, and I've seen Pumpkinhead at least 2 or 3 times before now. I was always kind of like, would that really be enough to kill somebody? Like getting because it kind of doesn't like smack him in the like it like hits him on the
It's not
back
like
or
a direct
something.
hit, right?
It's like yeah, it's like he like
To the
collides with
side.
him
Yeah.
ish.
It's weird. And
He
so
doesn't die right away, so I guess like it's
yeah,
more
and
plausible.
there was a scene, I don't remember if it was the kid. There was a scene where somebody had died. I don't think it was the kid, like another character had been killed. I don't know why I'm thinking of this now, but this is one of the moments where I kind of laughed at the movie. Like they're pulling a blanket over the guy, and you can see him blinking and breathing. Like he's just like the acting is that bad. Like he's supposed to
Okay.
be
I
dead,
know the
you know?
scene you're talking about, and I did not catch
Yeah,
that,
yeah, I
but
was chortling when that happened pretty
okay,
hard. That was funny.
that's
Anyway,
fair.
so
That's
the
fair.
kid's dead, and of course, Ed
Yes.
returns, and at that point, the guy that had killed the kid is like, "Oh, I'm gonna fry for this. Like, I've got to get out of
They've
here."
definitely established, like, levels of morality among this
Right.
group of friends, like, the people that are like honestly, it reminds me a little bit of, like, Carrie, when you've got
Yeah.
this group of friends and one by one, they start to realize what they're doing is bad, and, of course, there's the people who never think it's bad and don't care, and so I feel like you had that going on in this movie, so the one guy's like, "We can't tell anybody, don't tell anybody," and they, like, lock people in a closet to, like, avoid them calling the police.
Yeah, it's really like, I mean, the guy, it's like he turns psychotic for a moment, but then he all of a
Yeah.
sudden kind of relents a little bit. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird turn with that.
There's definitely a weird little turn. I don't even know exactly what causes it to happen. Some conversation that enlightens him that he's done wrong. And I feel
I think
like did somebody die yet at that point or no?
I don't remember. I think the script just needed to move along, so they decided to give him some morality and have him change his
Okay, because I don't
mind.
even feel like anybody was dead yet. Because I'm like, why did he make that choice?
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember thinking though in the moment, like, wow, he did a total 180 like out of the blue there really
Yeah.
quickly, which was weird.
Yes. So it's very
So
shockingly, there was little development in that particular character shift. I
right,
was
which
shocked.
again, shocking, right?
Yes.
So Ed Harley returns, sees that the kid is dead, and I think one of the characters was left behind to kind of stay with
The
him,
guy's
and
brother, yeah, his little
his
brother, who's like
brother, yeah, and
you would say the most more he stays with the body. He wants to do the right thing. And I bring this up because it leads me to a thing later. But yes, the
okay.
brother stays.
Okay, so he stays, and of course, this like sends Ed off of a cliff. Understandably, right? He kind of like freaks out and loses his mind a little bit.
Ye
And he
Yes.
goes back to these at least these hillbilly folk that he had been delivering the stuff to, and is like, hey, I've heard that there's someone who can resurrect people
Well,
or
and
do
let's not
something. Or
forget how the movie starts. It starts with this all happening, with someone clearly trying to escape this creature and people being like, can't get involved, can't get involved. They brought it on themselves, shouldn't have killed that girl.
I totally forgot about the whole opening scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love the opening scene. I
Yeah, the
don't
opening's
love that
good.
we see, I feel like we see too much of Pumpkinhead too soon. I think that's the part that I think disappointed me as I rewatched it as I got older. I think I've told you, like, for many years, Pumpkinhead was like my movie of trauma. And like, I grew up thinking that was the scariest movie I'd ever seen.
So
And
how old
then
were you when you saw this? I mean, were you
probably young, probably 6. I don't know. Far too young to be watching Pumpkinhead is when I saw
right?
Pumpkinhead.
And so,
And
go ahead. Yeah,
well, I was just, but in my memory of it, it was so scary because like I didn't remember what he looked like, or like it felt like that was the big reveal. You kept seeing the arms and the shadows, but then when I rewatched it as an adult, I'm like, oh, you know right away what he looks like. Okay, why was I so scared again? I don't
yeah.
remember.
You're totally right that it was an early reveal, and I forgot to mention that. And it's important because the kid that we see in the beginning, it's like 1947 or whatever
Yes.
year it is. That's Ed. That's
It's
Ed
him.
Harley,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
So
it's him.
he is aware that when someone does something bad, someone can get revenge of using Pumpkinhead. Everybody knows Pumpkinhead. The kids are singing a little scary rhyme about it when the teenagers are at the grocery store or gas station,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, so it's kind of a local urban
It is.
legend sort of
Yes.
thing. So yeah, so he goes back to this family who he had delivered the stuff to earlier, whatever goods it was he was dropping off, and he's like, "Look, I know
Yeah.
that you know where this witch is located, essentially, that can like conjure this thing, and I want
They don't even
revenge."
totally understand. They don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and the one guy's like, "Hey, just drop it. I'm not gonna give you any information." But then one of his kids, finds him as he's leaving the place and is like, "I'll take you there, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll only go so far." But the witch was super cool though. I thought that the way that like she's designed and her look and just everything going on, that was kind of a cool horror
Yeah.
trope in the way that that plays out.
Yeah, and I feel like you almost expect it to be campier when you start to get close to that moment, but it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel overdone, but it also felt just ridiculous enough for this world, the world of
It
Pumpkin.
had. Did you ever see Drag Me to Hell? You've seen that, right?
It was so long ago, so
It
long
reminded
ago.
there was a witch in that movie, and it reminded me of that,
Yeah.
even though obviously that came out way later than this, but it was the same kind of vibe. There was a Sam Raimi-ish kind of thing happening there a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
in
I
that
would agree with
scene.
that. It was a
Um,
Sam Raimi thing before Sam Raimi was doing his thing. Yeah.
but and I love the whole scene where she's like, "You got to go to this cemetery in the woods. There's like a pumpkin patch there. This cursed, and you got to dig up this little thing that's buried. You'll know it when you see it, kind of thing."
And it's all very clear, I will say, and I like this, that people don't want him to do this. Like the guy's like, I'm not going to give you the information you need. Even the witch, I think, is like, this isn't going to be what you want, like, but I'll do it. That's
Yeah,
fine. So I feel like because I think for his journey, I think he has to keep coming up against. It's like when you try to entrap somebody, you have to
yeah.
like get them on film, giving you the money. They had to like check all these boxes to make sure that no, he really wanted to do this because it was not going to go well for him.
Right. And so he goes through with it. He finds the body and gets it back to the witch's house. And there's this whole kind of ritual thing where she's drawing blood from him and his dead
Yeah.
son and resurrects it. And again, I love the creature design. I do think it looks super cool.
Yeah.
I just wish it were a little bit more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like articulate, like when it's attacking people and like ripping them. I mean, just something to make it a little bit gorier, when it's sort of an attack mode kind of thing. But I love the way it looks,
Yeah.
like just cosmetically,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, we could describe the rest of the whole movie. I mean, the problem I think is that there's not like a ton of noteworthy kills or things to sort of, it ends up at this cabin where these kids
Yeah.
from out of town are staying, takes them out one by one. But it's like you said, like somebody's pushed through a window and they just are laying on like a countertop and that kind of
Yes.
stuff. I don't know.
It wasn't like super inventive, but what I was thinking about the last time I watched it is the killing starts kind of, I won't say early, but it's not like a third act slaughter. Like he starts killing them pretty, halfway through the movie, if not even earlier. And then it lasts all the way to the end. So I thought they did a nice job of like, of killing people for a long period of time.
Which is what you want in a horror movie, right?
I mean, it is. That's been my issue with a lot of modern horror films is like, oh, run, run, run. We're done. It's like, wait, what? Like, stumble a bit.
Yeah.
So I think they like because then that little kid, young teenage guy who told him he gets involved, and now he's trying to help, and so there's a chase scene with him because it's going all night.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say I kind of like there was almost a Terminator-ish vibe to it. Like there's an inevitability. Like it's going to find the people that it was brought back to find, and it's going to kill them one by one. Like they can't get away from it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I do like the turn to where it kind of goes into like voodoo territory, where clearly it's linked to Ed, and like
Yeah.
something that happens to him impacts the creature, right?
Yes. And
Like,
I think I mean, if I was really going to analyze Pumpkinhead for my English 111 class, I would
okay,
probably create a thesis around morality as it is depicted in the film. Because I feel
yeah,
like those teenagers are all a scale of morality. And then Ed, he chooses to do the wrong thing, chooses to do the wrong thing. And then kind of late in the game, chooses to do the right. I mean, almost everybody's already dead. And he knows that this has
yeah,
been going on. And then he
right.
takes himself out.
Yeah, so and I mean that in the ending, so the final confrontation I thought was really cool. So like he's
Yeah.
leaving this barn and accidentally bumps into a pitchfork, I think, that stabs him like kind of in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And he sees the creature react and kind of makes the connection of, oh, like whatever happens to me happens to it. And there's a flamethrower involved at one point, and the thing gets set on
Yes.
fire.
Mhm.
But ultimately, yes, like he's telling, I guess, the final girl, right, at
The
this
final
point,
girl.
final girl, like, you gotta kill me. Like, just kill me. Like, let's end this whole thing. And when she finally does, the creature falls over and then spontaneously combusts, I guess because
Yes.
it's going back to
Yes.
hell or
There
whatever's going on there. So, um, but yeah, I mean, from a pure kind of execution standpoint, I found it enjoyable. I just ultimately wish it was a little bit more gory in the way some of the stuff played out. But I enjoyed the story. Like I thought it was a very kind of straightforward. And I tend to enjoy horror movies that are not overly complicated, that are just kind
Yes.
of like simple premises, which is why Halloween is still my favorite horror
Yeah.
movie of all time, I think. I mean, that's one of the reasons. But yeah, and I know that there are like a number of sequels that I have not seen, and I don't know if they're worth checking out. Probably not, would be my guess. But
Probably not, probably not. And like you were saying, I think as the older I got, the more I watched it, I picked up on the story, and then obviously watching it for the first time as a parent, like picked up more on the motivation of the story because the very last scene is the witch burying the guy's or what looks like a crippled sort of body like you saw when she performed the ritual with the necklace that the
right,
son gave him. So it's like this message of like it's a cycle. Like
yeah.
you want to take this demon on and let them kill your people, fine. Then you're gonna die and become the next one. Like
And I will say to Ed Harley's credit, like he does come around to realize, like, okay, I got to stop this. This isn't what I
no,
wanted.
he does. He absolutely tries to redeem himself, but it's interesting that like that's the final image that like you
Yeah,
become what you create or something of that analytical nature. I don't know. But I like that. I do. I like the story. It's simple, but it's not just like guy wants revenge.
right.
Guy wants revenge and uses voodoo witch to summon demon that kills. Okay, great. Awesome. Love it. But that's it.
Yeah,
And that's all you need. So it was
yeah. And I
simple,
would,
but yeah.
other than the scene I was talking about where the guy's pretending to be dead and clearly he's not in that scene, I thought the acting actually was pretty good overall in this. Like I didn't really
Yeah.
think there was anything bad. I mean, Lance Henderson's fine and he's always good in movies. And I thought like the teenagers or whatever age they're supposed to be, like early 20s from the city, were all pretty good for the most part. You know,
Yeah, I mean, for what they were, would I say like, "Oh, I wish there was more character development?" It's like, not really, because they all die. So I guess I don't care that much. What I found interesting, and I don't know why this time around watching it, I was so focused on it. Maybe it's because I was watching it knowing I was going to review it instead of just like watching it. But I pay attention a lot to Death Order. And I do
yeah,
think that that has changed. Like, I feel like in older movies, the more immoral men died last, where now they die first.
okay,
And I want to make a commentary on society and say that I think we were the filmmakers were trying to punish men. Look at everything you've created. Look at the mess you've made. Look how immoral you are, and then we'll kill you. And now today we're just like, you suck, you die. Like it's
right,
very much the point. Because it makes me think about Carrie. I was thinking
Yeah.
again about John Travolta's character is the most malicious towards her, but he's one of the last ones to die.
Yeah.
And
And,
it's like
and I will say
today, if you were the most immoral, you'd be the first to die.
it's been at least a decade since I've seen Carrie. I need to go back and watch it. But
Okay, so
yeah,
the
I
next
know.
one we're gonna do is Carrie. Because
So
Carrie is
we're
one of my
starting kind of our
favorites.
Halloween slate of things here. But yes. Now I did never see the remake of Carrie, which I don't know if that was any
I
good.
also did see that. I still like the original movie better. The remake holds more to the book, but I don't love the book. I like the movie.
So did you think the remake was, I mean, the original aside, like was it a okay horror movie just by itself? Like
It
a
was okay. Yeah,
standalone?
yeah. For a horror movie, it was okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. And also, I know we're talking about future movies. So, okay, we'll do Carrie. I want to do that one that we were talking about the other day, that link that I sent you for that alien invasion thing. Did you
No
see
one
that?
can save you.
Yeah, no one will come, no
Yes.
one's gonna save you, or so whatever it's called,
Yes.
something like that.
And
Do you
then
remember that one?
yes, no, I do. And then I was like, there was another one, Saw X.
Oh yeah, and I haven't seen Spiral yet, so I need to see that too.
I mean, only
Which
because I
you've
wanted
mentioned
somebody else's
multiple times.
opinion, and I think I'm the only person in the world who's watched it. So I would like at least one other person on earth to watch this movie so I can ask you if you thought the same things I thought.
Well, and I need to. So I've seen like the first 3 Saw movies. I just don't know after that. I kind of dropped off after that. Like I
No,
don't know if I should go back and watch like what I should see
I don't
before
plan
Saw.
to.
What's the hat?
I I don't plan to. I just
Yeah,
watched Saw 1 and 2 pretty recently. But I don't need to watch any
yeah.
others.
You don't
Mm-mm.
need to Saw again. Seesaw. You don't need to Seesaw again.
No.
I'll
No,
be
I
here
do
all
not.
night. Not really for about 10 more minutes. Just for a little
But
while.
what I'm trying to say about morality is that it's changed. So the guy that killed the kid lived the longest, like almost the longest. He got
Yeah.
and like is it because he needs to be punished by watching all his friends die? Because I feel like if that movie was made today, he killed the kid, he dies first.
Okay. Well, and I think part of it too is like as viewers, do we get more satisfaction out of like waiting to see him get axed? Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Like
know.
when are you going to get but then like do we as a viewer become more frustrated because the closer it gets to the end, does he not? Like does he get away with it? And then that
Right.
disrupts our expectations and is
And
horrifying in and
is
of
that more
itself.
realistic if he gets away with it? Like
I
I don't know,
mean,
like
prop and yes,
right?
probably.
Like I mean, I don't know. And is that scarier in and of itself?
Because
Like I don't
apparently
know.
he kind of almost got away with the one from before, he was saying. He was just on probation. So
Yeah.
who knows
Um,
how many before that?
so I don't know. I know that we kind of glazed over like a large chunk of this movie, but like I mean, I feel
It,
like we've you
once
know,
the killings start, the killings are happening, and that's the
yeah.
majority of the movie.
So ultimately, Kim, would you recommend that people check it out?
I really do. I was talking to my mom about it, who was the one who probably had me watch it when I was 6.
Yeah.
Um, and and then how I made Matt watch it with me when I was like 24, and I was like, "This is so scary." And he's like, "This is the scariest movie you've ever seen?" And I was like, "No, it's not. I don't know what I thought that." And now, like really watching it as a movie, I really like it. And it's a movie
Yeah.
that I could see myself watching again soon
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
It
think
was
once I
cool.
got over why was I so scared and then it wasn't as scary as I thought, now I'm like, "Oh, this is just a good horror movie."
You know, when we get closer to October 31st, I know we're talking about like a ton of movies we're going to squeeze into like October here, but one movie that I think we should talk about because you and I have divergent opinions on it, I think, is Trick or Treat because I really like that movie a lot, and I think you don't like it that
I
much,
don't, I
right?
think it's horrible.
We should do that because I feel like every time we see a movie, we agree, which is great, but like it'll be cool to see like differing opinions
Yeah,
on something and to talk about that.
yeah. I was thinking about that movie recently only because I just was like, maybe I should watch it again and see if I still think it's horror. I think, and I will say I would probably be less subjective now. I was very biased then because everyone had been like talking it up as the scariest movie they'd seen. And I'm like,
It's not
really?
scary. I wouldn't say that it's like scary. I just enjoyed it. Like, I mean, I don't, what do you,
And
so
I
now
think
when you,
that's why I hate it so much because I was told it was going to be scary and it
yeah.
wasn't.
And I know we did the video, like, what's your favorite scary movie and kind of walk through all that. And you'll just have to remind me, like, what do you think is legitimately the scariest movie you've seen? Like, the one that really scares you? Like, not your favorite horror movie, but just one that, like, freaks you out the most.
It would be a toss up between the one which I cannot name that starts with a C and ends with a man.
So, Andy, man, that one? Should you
That's
say it
too
3
much.
times? Get a
That's too
mirror?
much. That's not it's
Yeah.
too close. And The Exorcist.
Yeah, The Exorcist is great. That's, one of our friends, Chris Brawley, I think that's his favorite movie of all time,
I
which
mean,
is awesome.
it is boring. Like, as a kid, I was traumatized, and then I watched it again, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is so boring." And then suddenly I'm like, "Oh my god, this is horrifying." So,
And
I
there's a
still think
sequel coming out, like, soon, right? Like,
is it a
Exorcist.
sequel or like a reboot?
I think it's a sequel. It's like Exorcist Believer or something. I can't
Because
remember what.
there have been sequels to that. I've never
Yeah,
seen any of them.
yeah.
And
I
then
don't
I
know if
think
it's like.
I
I wonder if they're doing what Halloween did, where they kind of ignore everything, and then it's like Halloween 2018 or something like that. Like, I don't
well,
know, but
that would be interesting. I think I mentioned to you way before the TV show that they made, The Exorcist. It only had 2 seasons, and I watched them both, and they were really good. But
oh,
I will spoiler alert for you now that the first season is Reagan, all
is
grown
is
up.
is what?
Is
Oh, it's Ray.
Reagan.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay,
So
that's interesting.
so I really just spoiled that whole first season, but really it came out so long ago if you
I
haven't
was
seen
like,
it.
I was like, Ronald? What?
Reagan. Yes,
Ronald Reagan?
Ronald
Like,
Reagan. It's you find you and you like because it's this woman with 2 daughters and one of them is possessed and it's the same demon that possessed her
okay,
because it's going after her and I thought
yeah.
that was cool. I really did not think that's where it was. They must have done something with her name to make it. I don't even know because I never
She's
would
a
have
witness
thought.
protection from the demons or something.
Maybe I don't know. No,
Yeah.
that wasn't it. But and it was Gina Davis. Like it was really good.
Oh, nice. Okay. Was that like HBO? Like, I don't even know what that came out on. Or
No, I don't remember. I
okay,
just know that
I'll
I
have to look it
watched
up.
it on Hulu when it came
So,
out.
well, I guess we'll end this with saying I think we both recommend Pumpkinhead. I
Well,
didn't
what
think
would
it was
you
like.
say are your scariest
Oh,
movies?
yeah. So for me, I don't know. Like, I am always freaked out by like paranormal stuff, really, more than
Yes.
like monsters. So I talked about, I think when we did the favorite scary, like Paranormal Activity, like that one, the
Oh,
simplicity
yeah.
of that one like freaks me out. I think it's like the idea of like suburban home, things
Yes.
going on,
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Well, and my favorite scary movies are not necessarily the ones that scared me the most, like that
mhm.
because if it scared me
Yeah.
the most, I'm not gonna keep watching it, and I
Right,
wanna know
that's
it's
how
gonna
I am too. That's exactly how
yeah,
I am, yeah, so,
yeah.
I would say Paranormal Activity, but then, like, just generally, if we're talking about horror, I mean, Halloween, but I've said that before, so that's to me, that's not as scary.
No, it's not as scary, but it's a great movie to watch where, like, I've seen Paranormal Activity more than once, but it's not a movie I'm gonna seek out to watch because I
Right,
know I'll be freaked out afterwards.
yeah. Generally, like, ghost stuff, I don't know why, that, like, unsettles me more than, like.
Ghost stuff,
Yeah,
possessions, I don't like demonic, devil-y things.
yeah,
And that can be psychoanalyzed by anyone, but
yeah,
that is just I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to know.
yeah. So, okay, we would recommend Pumpkinhead, maybe we'll
I
do
would very
Pumpkinhead
much
2 and
so.
3. What's that?
I very much so recommend with some popcorn and a beer, watch
Yeah,
Pumpkinhead.
I agree. So what are we doing next? I don't even know.
One of the 6 that we mentioned.
Well, okay, so that Alien and that No One Will Save You thing, that comes out in, like, 2 days, so maybe I don't
Oh,
know,
it
like.
does? Okay. I
Yeah.
was wondering because I was trying to find it.
It's
Okay.
on Hulu. I think it's gonna be on
Yes.
Hulu, but yeah.
Yes.
So, cool. So we'll do that one potentially, like, next week. I mean, I don't whenever. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes. I still have somewhat of a life for the next few weeks.
So you mean, like, what you mean, like, as in you have a lot of stuff going on? Or
Yes. Then I go into directing Booze and Brews, and then from there I go in directing The Innocents, and then from there I go into directing The Last 5 Years. So starting like the end of October, I'm busy till February.
gotcha. So Kim's got a lot going on. But yeah, we'll squeeze in some movie reviews where we can for sure. But Kim, as always, it's good to catch up. We need to do this more frequently. But yeah, we'll be back
Yeah.
like hopefully next week with this new movie
Hopefully.
and we'll
Yes.
talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.